Okay, so we're live. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Fatima Azam. I'm the community manager for Ejad Labs, and I'm very excited today to be hosting Fariel Salahuddin. She's the CEO and founder of Uptrade and Goats for Water, and she has had very amazing experience in the energy sector as well as the corporate sector, and now she has turned to the social enterprise side, and she's doing commendable work through Uptrade. So we're very excited to have you, Freya. Over to you.
Thank you, Fatma, for inviting me and to share my experience. And I'm happy to chat here with you.
Okay. So to start off and to familiarize our audience with you, would you like to tell us a little about your educational background and your journey from college to the corporate world, and then your transition to the social enterprise that is Uptrade?
Sure. So I went to school in Karachi. I did my schooling here. I grew up in Karachi, and then briefly I went to college in the States, and I actually wanted to study sciences. I'm a big believer in pure sciences, and I believe that's really what pushes the frontiers of humanity as we are now seeing. So I wanted to go into molecular biology, and that's what I studied for 2 years, biology, chemistry, etc. While doing like a minor in economics. And then I transferred to Lahore, to LUMS, which is where I picked up my major in economics. And that's where I finished my undergrad. And I loved my time there. And I think I was very lucky to get an excellent education there. And then my first job was actually in the corporate side. I was working in the equities market in the Pakistan Stock Exchange, and my job was basically to study companies and value them. These were companies which were dealing in the fertilizer and agriculture. So I did that for a bit, and then I got the Fulbright scholarship, which then I went on to do my master's at Columbia in New York, and I studied econometrics there. After leaving there, I moved back to Pakistan and I started working in project finance. And that is actually where my journey began with the energy sector. And I started working in the development arena. So I was working for power sector projects. I moved on to USAID, where I was actually based out of the Ministry of Water and Power, advising them on policy, advising them on projects. It was actually one of the most interesting work experiences that I've had. It really taught me a lot about how the private sector works versus the government sector and how policy is actually formulated. After that, I was again working on various consulting projects. I was in Egypt for a bit, I was in Indonesia for a bit. Then I moved back to Pakistan and started Goats for Water, which was an unlikely journey. I didn't mean to start it as a company. I was just interested in the off-grid solar space, and it just so happened that the work that we started doing there was really benefiting, and also for me, like I personally, when I got involved with this work, when I started this company and we put up the first pump, uh, the feeling of actually making a difference on the ground and seeing it versus being in an environment which is a lot more long term, like policy takes a very long time to show. So for me, it was a better experience, and I chose to then leave my corporate work, leave the development industry, and dedicate my time fully to Goats for Water, and that's where my journey began.
That's amazing. That's fascinating. So, about Goats for Water, what was your vision when you were starting the company, and how has the vision or the company evolved since you started?
So the vision when I started, to be honest, it was basically to bring basic solar energy to communities that are off grid in a way that is sustainable. And by that, I mean, these are all jargony terms, but what that means is that these communities which are living without water, without energy, should be able to access water and energy in a way that is not dependent on the particular intervention, that it can continue in and of itself, right? So to create a system whereby things which are considered a number one, getting those assets to these communities, because these communities, it's very hard to find quality products for solar water pumps, for solar home lighting systems, getting those to the communities, and then overcoming the affordability, which is how does a community uh, pay for something which costs, like at that time, 9 lakh rupees, which is or sorry, 11 lakh rupees, which would be $9,000 now. It would be, so how do we make that happen? So there were a number of solutions in the markets, such as pay as you go, such as micro loans, but these were not gaining traction. And uh, and I just didn't see myself being involved, and with that I needed a one-time transaction. So that's where we turned to the asset for asset exchange, and the vision basically started with that. And then as we worked on that, and as I saw the change in the community, that this was a community which couldn't afford to buy this asset before, but now literally had paid for it by themselves. Why couldn't this be something that could be sort of expanded not just to water, but to energy, to lighting, to maybe productive assets, like tractors, like fridges, whatever a community may need. And once that vision got that was the vision, that was the intermediate vision. And then over time, um, we've sort of refined it, and the vision that now we have for Goats for Water, or this solution, is that we are looking at a community currency. Like, why should money be the only way, cash currency, rupees, dollars, why should that be the only way that people are sort of limited uh, to use as a form of exchange? We are now living in the world of bitcoins. We are living in a world of digitization of assets. And how can this technology be now used to benefit those who are suffering from, in some ways, from using a very mainstream way of exchanging, of a monetary system? So that is now the vision that we are working on how to benefit, how to create a monetary system which moves away from cash currency and moves into digitizing assets that can be used as a means of exchange, as a monetary system by the smallholder farmers.
That's amazing. That's truly inspiring. So, on that note, I would like to ask you, how does the business model work exactly? Like the execution and the implementation of Roads to Water.
So it's very simple. The model is that we take payment for assets in livestock, and then we are now selling those livestock that we do get to the market, right? And there are many markets for livestock. So there is, starting with the basic one, which is Eid in Pakistan, right? That's very particular to us. Then we move on to meat, right? Meat is a big market. Then there's cultural, religious, which is Sadqa, Akika, right? Then we move on to leather, for example. And So anything which uses or has a need for livestock, whether it's religious, cultural, whether it's the commodity, meat, leather, etc. We are tapping into that market to create a demand for these animals, um, and selling the animals that we get
That's
into the.
amazing. Okay. So, in your business model, you said that you interact directly with the rural communities. So, how did they respond to your efforts, and did you face any barriers? If yes, how did you overcome them?
Mm, so initially, it was once, like, initially we have to go in and explain the model and explain how things work to the communities, um, and but they understand it very quickly, right? And once we move into a new area, we have to, like, we just explain it once, twice to one, two communities, and then it just spreads on its own. The communities basically spread the word on their own. They will now come to us that, ओ आपने हमारे नेबर के घर में, हमारे कज़न के गाँव में लगाया था एक पंप, आपने लाइटिंग लगाई थी, हमें भी चाहिए. So now we actually have a steady pipeline. We Once we enter a new area, the rural structure is such that it's things spread very quickly by word of mouth. But initially, getting your foot in the door is hard. Not hard, but it just requires a little bit more effort, time, and patience.
Makes sense. So, it does require a lot of effort, and you have to struggle a bit. So, we want to know what drives you to keep on struggling every day and to never give up.
Well, it's not a struggle, to be honest. And I have an amazing team, and nothing I think can be built on its own or by one person. I really have, mashallah, a great team, and things. I think the work is really not a struggle. It's been quite an easy way of expanding. And to be honest, when as some of the people who might be listening here, or some of the people who have started their own business and run their own businesses, they will know what it feels like, that when you do come across a difficult point, and that happens. When you're in it, you're so focused on solving for that problem, you don't see it as a problem. Then you see it retrospectively. Oh my god, that was a difficult time, that was like something that we had to overcome. But you don't feel it then. For me, in my case, like, our team definitely, like, just comes together, and we see it as a challenge that has to be overcome collectively, and everyone is just focused on the solution rather than the problem itself. And that's really the way that we get through the tougher times.
Okay, amazing. So, Fariel, the work that you guys are doing, it's clearly making a very positive impact on the communities that you're working with, and you're making their lives better. So, what is your long-term impact or goal with the company? What do you guys plan, that in the long run, what would your impact be to the societies that you're working with?
So, I mean, our medium term impact is now to scale up in Pakistan for 2021 and 2022. Simultaneously, we also want to be able to get a lot of interest from other countries where there's smallholder farmers who want to use this model, and we want to try the fastest, easiest way to replicate this through partnerships. That if so, for example, we are talking to someone in Kenya who are interested in in this model for farmers there, and we're working with them to teach them how we have done it here, and how we can replicate this there, or how they can replicate this, and how can we help them set up over there. So now we are at that stage that, I mean, in Pakistan, we pretty much know exactly what works, what doesn't work, and now we're looking to take this model to other countries.
Okay. That's amazing, tapping into the international market. So, you guys are planning for that. And how do you plan to do it? Like, I heard one of your interviews, and in that you were talking about traceability and how it's not happening in Pakistan right now. So, how do you plan to make it happen for you to expand into the other markets?
So, first of all, traceability in Pakistan in the livestock sector is very limited. The true definition of traceability in the livestock market, when it pertains to meat, is knowing number one geography. Where did this meat, which like what which animal it came from? Where did that animal sort of, where was it born? Which areas did it go through? And then the second factor which defines traceability is lineage, right? So technically, you go two generations back. Because there's no link to the point of origin, which are the smallholder farmers in Pakistan, because our livestock value chain is very, very fragmented, and there are many, many intermediaries starting from the farmer to the vyapari to the mandi to the middleman to then the other mandis, and the list goes on. You lose the traceability. The advantage and our unique selling proposition is that we work directly with the farmers where these animals are born. So we can definitely in the immediate term tell exactly. आपको एक खीमे का पैकेट कहीं से खरीद रही हैं, for example, we're launching our own meat line, so we can tell you exactly which animal that came from and which farmer raised that animal, and within 2 years we'll be able to give you the lineage of that animal, what breed it was, what was the parents, what was the vaccination, what was the health status, etc. So that is what traceability is, and this is a challenge for farmers in the developing countries everywhere, not just Pakistan.
Okay, amazing. So, you talked about your meat line and that you're planning to start one yourself. So, when are we going to see the meat line in market, and how are you guys working for it right now?
So we're very close to actually launching. The launch is on Monday, and that we'll be serving clients in Karachi first, um, where we'll be taking orders online and delivering to homes. We also have a warehouse in Karachi where whoever wants to come in and buy the meat from there can also buy it from there. We are also targeting a lot of businesses, and we've been very lucky. We've got very socially conscious businesses that are actually approaching us to supply them meat. For example, there's a restaurant in Karachi called The Village, and the owner is very forward thinking, and she's interested in buying the meat from us. And what we are doing is that we are bringing transparency to the customer, right? Because as a customer who eats meat, we don't know, okay, this meat has come from something, from a healthy animal, whether it's come from an animal that is considered prime or whether it's considered like, oh, this is like grade B, right? And in this industry, there's a lot of sort of mixing which happens. So, for example, if you go buy a packet of meat from one of the butcheries that is pre-packaged, some of the meat will be coming from really like a prime animal, like grade A, and some of the botis and some of the pieces are going to be coming from grade C. And we want to bring, the transparency that you know what you buy and you pay for what you're getting, right? So if you want grade A, you get grade A, you pay for grade A. And grade B is not bad. It's not that it's not. You are already consuming it without knowing, but you'll know when you get grade A meat, right? So that is what we're offering to our customers, and that's what the meat line brings.
That's amazing. Looking forward to the meat line because there is definitely a demand, and I would be one of your customers for sure. Uh, so, Fariel, what would you advise new entrepreneurs or people who are young and entering the industry? What would your advice be to them?
Mm. Every entrepreneur's journey is very different, but there are few things that are common to every entrepreneur's journey. And one of, I think I can just speak for myself and I can tell you how my journey has been. That I can tell you that, you know, I I feel as I've had to grow as a person as the company grows. And that means that I've had to learn to become a better manager. I've had to learn to become a better leader. I've had to learn to become a better human being. I've had to address a lot of my own fears because this journey puts you directly in touch with all of your fears. And that is actually the most gratifying part of the journey because you grow as a person. And in terms of I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky in the sense that I've met some amazing people who have guided me, who have been there to sort of help me out when I was stuck, when I didn't know the answers. People who've been on this journey before, and I could go to them. I've had many mentors who've been on this journey before me, and it's so important to have those people and those friends really who can tell you that. I remember there was this one time very early on where we ran into a problem, and I was really panicking, and I was just like, oh my god, now I have to shut down the company. And I called up he's actually the chairman of the board. And I called him up and I was like, I have to let him know that this has happened and this is it. Now we're going to shut things down. And I called him up and he just cracked a joke and he was like, why are you stressing? Why are you like freaking out? This is normal. This is going to happen. And, you just roll with the punches. It's okay. And things change. And don't freak out. So yeah, the biggest thing is, you will, as anyone who starts on this journey, they will realize that your basically your ability to take stress you really expands. You start like not freaking out about things, and you yourself will sort of figure this out as you go along. I think I've lost you. I don't know if this is working.
Can you see me now? Is it okay now?
Fatma, yeah, I think I lost you. I don't know where you lost me.
I think I heard everything. So it's been amazing having you over for the Fireside for Startup Grind trial, and I'm sure that your journey on its own would be very inspiring to a lot of entrepreneurs and women especially because you're truly inspirational to everyone in the Pakistani startup industry especially. So thank you for giving us your time, and it's been great.
Thank you for having me, and it's always fun to talk to you. So, so I'm really happy about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.